Okay, sorry about that. Now you were talking about the transcription.
Yeah, so the transcription book, every little squeaking noise that was made, everything. So yeah, I'm just finishing. All I need to do is that. The transcriptions are all done. It's like 192 pages of transcriptions for the first 12 songs. And now I just have to add pictures and any comments, stories, text, and that's it, and get that thing out there. And that should be available hopefully by the middle of this year, if not sooner, on my site where I sell all my junk, which is, my site is bumblefoot.com. And the main place that I sell all my crazy stuff, shirts and whatever else, and merch and little mini guitar replicas of all my strange guitars and keychains and all that crap.
You might want to start selling Riot Gear merch just in case.
Riot Gear.
Bumblefoot Riot Gear.
Nice.
A little helmet and a baton or something.
That is so fucking funny.
I'm sure it would sell.
Out of necessity.
But on a serious note, what are your plans for recording in the future for yourself? Are you thinking of another instrumental or another vocal album or anything?
Yeah, I would love to do both. I would love to do an instrumental album and get a bunch of guests. I mean, I got so many guitarist friends that I would love to have guests on, like just a guitar-oriented album. Actually, just yesterday I laid a guitar track for Ty Tabor, the guitar player of King's X, one of my all-time favorite bands. He's got a solo album he's working on, and I laid a little guest thing on that. And he wrote back to me, he's like, yeah, it's cool, man, if I can return the favor. So I need to do an album and get him on that.
Absolutely. Oh, that would be great.
Yeah.
Now, is there anything in the works right now? No, not yet. You haven't written anything?
When I'm on tour, I just go dry. It's like I get so musiced out from the shows that I just don't really write. Like, I have ideas brewing in the way back of my head, but just to sit down and start tracking them and planning out the ideas, I'm always like, all right, let me wait till I'm off tour.
Okay.
So...
Are you allowed to do some side projects with the guys in Guns N' Roses, or like use them and go out as a band, or do you really much have to? That's Guns N' Roses, and when you're on your own, you have to be sort of on your own.
Well, we all do a lot of other stuff, and there are times when Frank and Fortis are gonna do a show in New York together. Like I know they just played with the Compulsions,
right,
and stuff like that. So like we all kind of, make music, do our thing, and yeah.
Which is important. Now, there's another thing that's important that you're involved with, which most people don't know about or might not realize, and that's multiple sclerosis.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, a very good friend of mine was diagnosed in 1997.
Okay.
And he was a musician, he was in a band, and he was down in Puerto Rico, things were going well, and he just started getting dizzy spells, and he looked into it, and that's what it was. So, he just said, well, let me do something about this, and spent about 2 years getting all the paperwork and everything right, and started a non-profit, total government registered 501c3 non-profit org, where he would hold events and donate the money right to the researchers. He was thinking about maybe sending it to other organizations, but he didn't want it going toward people that are just going to pay themselves and promote their organization. He wanted it to go right to research. So we did a bunch of research of our own on the research and started checking out what we felt was the right direction and checking out different labs and meeting neurologists and checking out what they were working on, and we started doing like dinner comedy shows that we would arrange in Jersey, concerts where proceeds would go toward these researchers, buying the test tubes, paying the interns, whatever was needed.
And you sell autographed merchandise and stuff, and you give the proceeds also?
Yeah, and any signed stuff of mine. Like if you wanted a autograph CD, autograph photo, personalized to you, and a chunk of the money goes to MSRF. That's MS Research Foundation, msrf.org.
.org. So people can find out everything they need there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Hopefully people will go and check that out and maybe pick up a Bumblefoot CD.
Perhaps.
That'll be good. Now, obviously, the one thing that we can't ignore is Chinese Democracy, the album. What's your take on it now that it's been out for a year?
Well, my take on it after a year is pretty much the same as it was when it first came out. I think it's, if anything, I find it more interesting other people's take on it. When it first came out, you know, it was everything, all the baggage was still fresh that people brought mentally into it. Like, you know, when they would, before even hearing the album, they already had ideas in their head. They had their minds made up. Right. Whether they were going to love it or hate it or anything. And a lot of people did. I can't say everybody, but you know, they're like, you know, one, it's not the same band members and the songwriters that were on the debut of Guns N' Roses. So that they would take issue with the fact that it might have taken X amount of years to put together and whatever else, and their opinions on band members personally or whatever it was. There's just a lot of things, you know, so I think it clouded and biased a lot of people's listen, because people would always come to me and say, you know, when the album first came out, you know, I felt this way, but now that I listen to it after time passed and you know, I feel this way about it, whether, you know, better or worse. It's interesting. And I think that as time goes on, you know, whether you like it or not, at least you'll be able to listen to it and base your feelings about it on the music and not on your opinion of the singer or who's in the band or what the name of the band is being called with different members of it 20 years later and that kind of crap.
Yeah, GNR takes a lot of criticism for that, but I mean, just in heavy metal, if you look at Kiss or if you look at Iron Maiden or Judas Priest or Scorpions, they've all changed personnel over the years. Yeah,
Priest had how many drummers? I mean, even the Chili Peppers had a handful of guitar players. And,
absolutely.
It happens.
It happens. And I mean,
not every band can be the Four Tops and go 50 years with the same members and or whatever it is, and you know, until one of them passes away.
Yeah, I mean, and then you start, you look into normal, you know, just regular rock, you like Styx and Journey, and people just change, and yet GNR changed. And all of a sudden, it's a disaster. How dare they? It's not the band we love, but...
Well, I guess it's kind of like Seinfeld.
Right.
You know, it's the same kind of thing, where people loved Seinfeld so much with those four main people in it, and if one leaves or if Jerry has another show and George and Kramer and Elaine aren't in it, people are going to protest.
Right.
Not, you know, just because they, out of the love they had for what Seinfeld was. You know, it doesn't make the new show bad. It just, it is what it is.
It is what it is. Now let's talk about something even more important. You're a Kiss fan.
Hell yeah. Absolutely.
There you go.
5 years old, I heard Kiss Alive, and I was like, that's what I want to do with myself. And immediately, I was 6 years old, I was playing guitar, I had a band with the older kids in the neighborhood, we were making our own merch, drawing our own little comic books, passing out cups of confetti, and for the end of our shows that we would hold in my basement for 25 cents a ticket, and I mean, just we did the whole thing. We wrote songs, we even did demos, we recorded ourselves, where this is how I got into recording. I would take a little boom box. Come on, this is like the late 70s, so that's all we had. Either that or like one of those handheld, you know, rectangular things with a tape in it, and you press the recorder together. And
one of those Fisher-Price recorders.
Yep. So, yeah, I would have that, and we only had acoustic guitar, so we would be like a foot away from it playing, and the drums would be 10 feet back, so that's how we got our levels with the recording, and then we would play that, and then the